Hi, good evening, and welcome to my daily live session on uh, mindset and culture and other topics for creating world class companies and exceptional leaders. Today, I would be speaking of some topic which is what should I say, a little strange and even for me. And it was a kind of an interesting enlightenment and discovery when I worked on this topic to understand organizations and to understand why mindset and culture is extremely important. So let me talk about that directly into that, and after that, uh, you can spend a little time. This slide which I'm going to show today is a little loaded. So let me get back and then we'll directly go to that so that you can also see what's it that I'm talking about. So let me start with giving a short background. Uh, I have been talking about the transformation using with mindset and culture change, and for that spoke about chakras and then mindset and culture, L2L systems, scoreboards. And before I go to routine meetings, I want to speak a little more on scoreboards and L2L systems and all that, so that one gets a little more what should I say, immersed and sunk into it before we go to talk about the daily meetings. Now, this was the slide which I had shown to you on chakras, the seven chakras analogous to the chakras in the human body. And after that, went on to speak about the mindset and culture. Mindset basically for the individual, and the culture for the teams and for the groups, which basically is all about the way we are perceiving, thinking, deciding, and acting. And after that, I went on to talk about the three domains of learning, which is cognitive, uh, then you have affective and psychomotor domain for learning, and the multiple levels in each of these domains, maturity levels. Then after that, I went on to explain about the contextual hints, which are part of the do-how for discussing, for really changing the mindset, because that's when we start debating and discussing, and that's how the mindset gets changed. Only when we discuss something will we create a new emotional experience, new effect, and that's how the mindset changes. Then after that, I went on to talk about the learning to learn system, which is what I have coined based on my day-to-day working in a large multinational company like Bosch, and also looking at companies which are smaller than Bosch in terms of the size and magnitude. And at the same time, I've also used the experience of a consultant, as a consultant and as a coach, and also as a trainer. Whatever I've been doing in the last 7 months, put this 7 years and put this together. This I call as a learning to learn system with cycles of learning at different clock speeds: daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly. And then I spoke yesterday about the clock speed for the reviews. You know how important it is to work on the clock speed for when it comes to reporting, steering, and monitoring. That should not really be looking at the same clock speed for doing all the three. Therefore, if you do that, then it won't really give you any benefit. This is what I spoke about yesterday, and today I go to a different topic altogether, because that has got direct impact on the mindset and culture. Why is it that we are doing all this? Why is it that I'm doing all this? Why is it that, what is it that drives me to all this? I said my main passion is to create world class companies and exceptional leaders, as mentioned at the bottom on the left side of the slides. All the slides have that purpose of mine defined there. And one of the most important things is to make sure that there is a good amount of what should I say, understanding in the organizations to really move towards this place. I had explained some time back about the agile and fixed mindset, if you remember. I think 3 4 days back, or maybe last week. And there you can see that the agile mindset is something which is talking about a continuous learning. And there was a very strong, very popular book written by a great exponent of organizational learning, Peter Senge. I don't know whether you've heard of that book. It's called as Learning Organizations, which talks about how the organizations can continuously learn and continuously grow. Organizations are like human beings, like bodies, which are constantly growing, which are constantly amassing fat, amassing muscle, and growing, and therefore there the learning is something which is integral part of any organization. So on this slide, I'm trying to analyze and then depict my assessment of how a standard organization would look like and how a agile organization would look like. Let me first explain the contents of this slide, which is of this analysis, this infographic. On the y-axis here, you got the functional skill level required. Just to give you an example, one stands for the level in the type of the organization, which is in this case a startup enterprise. Let us look at startup enterprise. Level of the functional skill level required for the individual contributor in a startup level enterprise. And then next one is to talk about what is the level required for an individual contributor in a micro enterprise. If you see this, the level required, which is the functional skill required for the individual contributor, would reduce as you move along and the size of the company increases. Funny, isn't it? Funny, isn't it? You're trying to recruit the best of the best in the multinational companies. But in fact, they don't need such a high skill, because in the multinational companies and the large companies, they have a huge amount of process orientation. Therefore, a lot of things are defined already. Therefore, that kind of a additional functional skill is not required. All he has to do is just work like a robot. He has got 2 hands, 2 eyes, and 2 ears, and that's all he has to do. Therefore, as you go higher up in any standard organization, the skill level increase is something which changes here. Can you see this? The skill level is uh, reducing. That is something which is interesting, which is standard phenomenon in any organization, which happens in anywhere otherwise too. Then the next thing which is interesting is in the standard organization, and here you just need to note that the circle without the empty circle is a standard organization, and a full circle is an agile organization. And the next one, which is important, is to look at what is the x-axis. X-axis talks about organizational learning agility. At what speed is the organization learning? Okay, at what speed is the organization learning? In a standard organization, it is expected. This also talks about the organizational learning agility. What is the agility for the organization to learn? Okay. Now here it is talking about at what speed is the organization learning, which means I'm telling, if it's a standard organization, as you go higher up the hierarchy, the speed of learning increases. Higher up the hierarchy, the speed of learning increases in a standard organization, which is which is an organization which is something like a standard hierarchy, where you have the hierarchy like this. Okay. Then in a agile organization, my understanding is the speed of learning reduces as you go increase the hierarchy. Why does it happen? Because you have empowered people to work on their own. They are the self-governing teams. If the self-governing teams are existing in an organization, then the individual contributors who are working day to day, they are in a position to continually learn much faster than the senior management, which is an interesting phenomenon. Just give a thought to that. So that's one thing which happens. That is the x-axis here. Then there is another dimension to this, which is the bubble size. The bubble size, or the size of this square here, represents whether represents the degree of will and proactive attitude required. Degree of will and proactive attitude required in the various companies. Okay. Now, if you look at it, let us say, what is the SS means what? SS means soft skills. Then CS means conceptual skills. For the soft skills and conceptual skills, what is the degree of the aptitude required? That is the size, which represents the size of the bubble here. That means if you look at it, as you go higher up in the organization, uh, degree of will and proactive attitude required in a smaller company is not that much. As you go higher up in the organization, level 6 would be, let us say, global enterprise, because that is driven. There are a lot of systems there which are driving you. There is not much amount of effort required in that company. And what is interesting to me, which to note, which is very, very exciting, is as you look at an individual contributor, the change shift which I said, is the same phenomenon, is more or less the same in all the cases. And in the case of team leadership, again the same thing, but the team leadership, the levels required in the organization is much higher than the individual contributor, because team leadership is a very, very key role, because he's the one who's guiding the people to do that. Then if you look at it, the next level, which is the group leadership, the skill level even in the top management drops down compared to what you see in the earlier graph of the team leadership on the left side. Here it has dropped down. And I think another thing which has happened in the top leadership, when you look at a large multinational company, the top leadership, 6 is a large global enterprise. There the skill levels required is even lesser, because their functional skills are not required. Most important are the the conceptual and the social skills, because there it is only about managing what should I say, connections, people, network, and less about really giving any idea to do something. But it is required also, not that it can go down to zero. But in this graph, if you see, there are two things which stand out. One is that as the level increases, the hierarchy level increases, as the size of the company increases, the functional skill level reduces. As the size of the company increases, the functional skill level reduces. Uh, do you believe that? Why does it happen? Because it is very natural that in a standard company, you are trying to not empower anybody. There is no empowerment at all. You are basically telling something has to be done, boss has to tell you do that. Whereas in the agile organization, on the other hand, there also the same phenomenon is there. As the size of the company increases, the functional skill level reduces. That means you don't need so much amount of functional skill. This is mainly to do with the process maturity, and that nothing to do with the the mindset. Where mindset comes into picture is organizational learning. In a small standard organization, the organizational learning is higher at a higher level, whereas lower at a lower level. That is the x-axis which I'm talking about. Whereas in a learning organization, which is a organization where the mindset can be changed and continuously changed, there the learning is lesser at a higher level compared to the learning at a lower level. Organizational learning. I'm not talking about individual learning. Individual learning is good, but we're not worried about that here. So here, if you see, as a company becomes bigger, the organizational learning is extremely high on a at a individual contributor level in a global agile organization, because everything is deployed, everything is what should I say, empowered, everything is being done by what is called as self governing teams, and also the hierarchy levels have come down in these organizations. So this is something which I thought I'll share it with you. So if you want to really go into that mode of agile and create self-governing teams, it is important that we look at mindset, how the mindset works. And for that mindset to work, it is important to talk about contextually. It's important to talk about the clock speed at which we do the review, we do the monitoring, we do the steering, and we do the reporting. And it is important to talk about the learning to learn system. So these are all various, what should I say, modules or various you can call it as packages which are required to make an organization an agile organization. If you are an agile organization, then you can sustain over decades, over centuries. It is not easy at all. Yesterday, in fact, day before yesterday, I had gone to one company, and this company said that they wanted to become an Indian company, a local company. They wanted to become the best in the world, and they wanted to become on par with a European or American or a Japanese company when it comes to any company other than these four countries trying to look for a partner, like look for a collaborator. Then that they said that, look, if they think of a collaborator, they should look at us as on par with any German, American, or Japanese company. A very, very, very far-fetched idea. This is a small company. Then after that, they said you do due diligence. I went on to do due diligence, and then in whatever observation I had, I observed that. And then after that, I gave a report saying that, look, I've done this, and then now we will look at the maturity of your people. That is equally important. For that, we run a do-how game. And then there was they said that, look, we will come back to you next month. In my opinion, what could have happened is, I'm not very sure. I need to really confirm that. What could have happened is, when I went there to see, there are a lot of basics which are missing. It's not about anything. You can have a lot of fantastic makeup, but if the foundation is bad, then whatever you do will not really work. And to work on the foundation is painful. It is not easy at all. You imagine here, when I'm telling that, as the individual, in comes to the functional skill, if you go to a larger company, it is not that critical as far as the functional skill is concerned. It's a kind of an exploding statement, isn't it? And in terms of the society, it is really crazy. I talk about that because of my experience. I have worked as a vice president in Bosch. I have worked as a president in a smaller company and worked as a consultant with many companies, closely with their top leadership and the lower leadership in those companies. Now, it's phenomenal. The amount of pressure you have in those companies is unlimited. It's something which is totally different. I remember I used to say that in Bosch, my biggest pressure was to make sure that I give a report and justify why something could not be done. That was the only pressure I had as a vice president. Whereas in total environment, my pressure was to make sure that the vendors are paid. that their wages are paid, that the employees are getting their salaries on time. It's a different pressure altogether. And for that, the skill you need is totally different. In Bosch, the cash flow is there. Big multinational companies have generally very good cash flows, and then they've got good backups. So there is not really so much to worry about, so many things. Whereas a smaller company, if you are at a senior level, the stress that you undergo, the problem that you undergo, and the skills that you need to have is out phenomenal, really very, very different. And that's something which you see on this slide. And if you see the last one, where top leadership, the from the my startup enterprise to a global enterprise, the skill level drops down significantly. Same thing happens in an agile enterprise also. Whereas the learning is a different thing, which is what you must have noticed already. Thanks a lot for watching. And I keep talking about these things, and then it's quite interesting to keep sharing. And I like a lot of likes that you keep giving me. And this time, Suresh Kumar uh, Hullanahalli. I am not sure who you are. Maybe I met him, met you, but then I don't really get your name. Hullanahalli, I have not heard of. Suresh, I would have known. So a lot of Sureshes I know. So later I look into it and find out who you are. So thanks a lot for liking my live session. And then do ask a question, comment. That's equally important so that we can debate on this apart from liking. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for liking. And I see that my likes are increasing day on day. So I hope that we will come to a level where we can discuss and debate. See, only way this way we can change the way we are running companies, the way we are really doing business, because I'm sure the potential we have is phenomenal. I keep telling this. I had the opportunity of leading Indians, Germans, Brazilians, Iranians, Turks, French. So I can tell you, and Americans, I can tell you that there is absolutely no difference between our um, intelligence and our employees and those employees. The only difference is the system. Only difference is the basic mindset, the way the environment is set up. And to change the environment, we need to change all these things. We need to really look at these topics and then try to build agile organizations. And once you build agile organizations, then there is no limit to it at all. In software, I heard that there are a lot of companies which say that they are doing agile, but it's not. Agile is not about doing a sprint. Agile is not about doing sprints for telling that I'm doing agile development. It's all about doing thinking. It's about thinking. Agile is in the mind. That mindset. When you're able to constantly change the mindset, then you're agile, and that's where the organizational learning comes into picture. Thanks a lot for watching. For those of you in India, have a nice evening. For those of you outside India, have a great day ahead. Goodbye, and have a nice weekend. See you again on Monday, more or less the same time. Bye bye.